His voice held a smile as he answered. Oh, I got all of them. I swapped them the first night. Hara shook her head. Never liked poisons. Too sneaky. Gideon stopped. That reminds me. He pulled something out of his pocket and left it in the pool of blood she had left. Hara asked, what is that? A diamond. I want to remind Moria. Clever, she thought, but she was too tired to even say that. Chapter 15. When they returned to the blazing blunderbuss, Hara wasn't astonished when her father wasn't there. Alice asked, You all right? Liam was standing watch with her and gasped. That is blood. Liam went to help her, but Hara waved them off. I'm fine. Hara didn't tell them she doubted there was much which could kill her with Gideon nearby. Talon came out from further in the ship. There is a message for you. Hara frowned, wondering if it might be from her father. Talon passed over the note. It had one sentence on it, you are free. It was signed Moria. Talon asked, where is Marvin? Talon was eyeing the blood on her clothes and the tattoos, which threaded up her arms, so his voice was distracted. Hara said, gone, and probably for good. Especially as he thought she was dead. She wasn't about to correct his misconception. Talon motioned to her blood and the new tattoos. What happened? Hara leaned heavily on Gideon. She was still shaky, and besides she liked the way he felt. I was shot. Gideon saved me. That is all that matters. Now I think we should leave Moscow. I'm feeling like some sunshine. She said to Alice. Get us out of here. I'm going to go change. Hara pulled her shirt away from her skin. The blood was tacky and it made a sick noise. Hara winced as she said, I liked this shirt. Gideon went to follow her, but she waved him off. Now that she realized how terrible the blood really was, all she wanted to do was to get clean. Talon followed. Hara, what is with the tattoos? Hara looked at them a little closer and realized they were actually a pattern of sorts. She twisted her arms. I think it means I'm married, Gideon. She smoothed her hands over the tattoos and Talon asked, and you are all right with that? Probably. But Gideon won't push it. She smiled as she said that. One thing she was very sure of was that Gideon wouldn't force her to do anything. Hara stopped and turned to Talon. Talon, I don't need someone to replace Dad. He was never really my father. Alfred raised me and he likes Gideon. You need to get over yourself. Talon pursed his lips. I don't want to be your dad. I know, Talon, but you are too much like Marvin to be anything else to me but a friend. A close friend, but only a friend. He nodded and walked away. Gideon said, do you think he will back off? Hara smiled as she hadn't heard him following them. Though she had assumed he wouldn't be far away. She shrugged. Thanks for letting me tell him in my own way. Gideon shrugged and followed her as she entered her room. She said, I don't think I'm ready. He nodded and caught her arms and tugged her closer. I know. He leant down and kissed her. She smiled against his lips. It felt so right. But she really needed to get out of her clothes. She put her hands on his chest and pushed him back until he was outside her room. She stepped back and closed the door on his face. She chuckled at the look he gave her, but he didn't open the door even though she left it unlocked. Dragons had no sense of personal space, but it seemed Gideon would give her some. Hara said, I feel silly. Do I have to do this? Gideon placed the things needed on a small table. He said, trust me, it will make you feel better. She glared at the back of his head as he bent over and rearranged everything on the table. She didn't argue with him anymore because she thought he might be right. Hara hadn't been able to sleep the night before. She had been worrying about her father. The bastard. Even when he wasn't there, he bothered her. Marvin was more than capable of looking after herself, and he certainly wasn't part of her crew. They still hadn't heard anything from him, but she doubted she would. They were still in Moscow. Alice had managed to get them a cargo, but it was only being delivered in the morning. Hara would have preferred to have been on their way now that they were free from their obligations to Rosha. Hara didn't trust Moria to stay complacent. Gideon stepped back from the table. There. He motioned her forward and she stepped up to the table. On the table was a small drawing of her father. A bowl, a candle and a small jug. Gideon gestured to the table. Take up the picture and say these words. She picked up the picture and repeated after him as he said, "This I give back to the winds. This I give back to the land." Gideon motioned to the bowl and she placed the picture inside. He picked up a taper and lit it on the candle and gave it to her. She set it to the picture in the bowl and said without prompting, "This I give you back to the fire."